And we're live! Welcome, everybody, to our 8th episode of Paulette Becs Lives. We started something new today, and we decided to get some background music.
Yes.
Cheers to background.
Cheers to that. That was a spur of the moment, awesome little
Mm-hmm.
bringing it in kind of thing.
Tidbit, yeah, you betcha.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, Bex and I are here to talk to you guys about some really exciting stuff. But first, what are you drinking tonight, Bex?
Ooh, I'm drinking a good one. I have Diabolica, I think is how you say it. Is from the Okanagan Valley, BC, and it is
Love it.
devilishly delicious wine.
I love it.
Yeah, very, very good. It's got a little kick to it. I am not a wine connoisseur, so I cannot describe what it is, but it's
But it made
delish.
your face go.
It gave me goosebumps everywhere when I first had my sip.
Love it. I
Yeah.
myself am drinking some vodka tonight.
Mm.
Uh, I went to my cupboard and didn't have any wine in it. Like, well, son of a beehive. This is not very productive for wine lives.
I'm actually quite shocked because it is the end of the first day of school, and not
I
to have a glass and bottle of wine is like, what?
I know. I was everywhere today. Everything was like I'm sure a lot of moms out there and dads out there are like that today because back in the swing of things, right? Which is
Seriously.
which is kind of like what we're going to talk about today.
Exactly.
So, yeah, today we are going to talk about starting new routines and the
Mm-hmm.
expectations that kind of come with that when we get back into the swing of things of school starting and all that kind of jazz.
And really talk about like how women are so. This is really directed to women, but if there's any dads out there, husbands, boyfriends, fiancés, whatever you may be, this is a great one to watch because it will give you lots of ideas on how to help out your spouse and realize and recognize how much women really do take on without the self love and self care.
Yeah. And where they're
Mm-hmm.
coming from, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Cheers to
Cheers to
that.
that.
Cheers to that.
Yes.
Okay. So I kind of wanted to start by talking about how a lot of times moms and dads, um, we kind of take on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're givers by nature. Like as moms and dads, we're givers by nature, and so we automatically always put everybody else's stuff ahead of our own, right? And when it
Yeah.
comes to days like today, like going back to school, I'm sure there were a lot of moms and dads out there who stayed up till like the wee hours of the night putting their school supplies together, doing laundry, making lunches, like figuring their shit out. But at the same time, it's very important to make time for yourself and not
Yes.
let that overwhelm totally derail you because it only takes it's a slippery slope, right? It takes one day for everything to start going
Tumbling down.
yeah, totally.
Yes. Yeah.
So um we really have to, I think, pay attention to what is good for our well-being as well. And
Mhm.
I am a big advocate of this because through the last year, I've learned a lot about making time for myself. Because what
Mhm.
I've come to realize is that when I am not at my 100% and when I'm not doing things that are going to fill my tank, like fill my cup, then
Yeah.
I'm left depleted and really honestly no good to anybody, right? Because then
Seriously.
I'm snappy
Yep.
and I I really have a hard time with all of those new things coming at you, right? Because we got like
Hmm.
school activities, there's just the back to school stuff, and especially for like the like single parents out there, God forbid, you have so much more on your plate, right? And you just
Yeah.
one of the tips that I would like to give is that I feel like as moms and dads, we should make as much of an effort to put effort into ourselves, like schedule the time to put
Yes.
that into ourselves as much as we do everyone else around us.
Hmm.
Because if we are not happy, most likely the rest of the family isn't going to be happy, right?
Exactly. And sometimes around that too is it's huge because everyone says like I want to make my kids happy first. But it's kind of a backwards idea in a way, right? Is if we have nothing, if we're feeling totally depleted and just exhausted and we don't have anything to give, how can we give to our kids? You can't give from an empty cup, right?
Exactly.
So it's really like you said, focusing on schedule your time for yourself and still everything else, but really focus on what truly matters. So all the tasks in the day of what you really need to focus on, narrow it down. Maybe you don't have to do all 5 or 10 things. Maybe you only need to do 3 of those. Like really focus on what matters so that you can still make, whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes of self-love, self-time, right?
Yeah.
Because whether it's having 5 minutes of quiet time or just sitting down and reading a book for a few minutes, whatever it is, right? You need to give yourself that self-love. And I've noticed too, like a lot of the time there's extroverts and introverts for like different people, right? And a lot of introverts need that quiet time. Like I know for myself, I love my quiet time, my alone time and everything. And you need to really focus on doing those things for yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have so much to give and so much more energy. Like the energy that we waste trying to please everybody else is just incredible.
Yes, totally. And also,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, make yourself a list and
Mm-hmm.
put your values into a priority order. So whatever is most important, put that at the top of your list and get that knocked off and then work your way backwards.
Exactly.
Please, for the love of God, do not feel guilty if you can't get
Yes.
all of those things done.
Yes.
Like Beck said, I don't know if you said it yet, but you said it to me earlier. Don't write yourself 30 things to do in one
Mm-hmm.
day because your odds are you're not going to be able to finish your list. And then you feel guilty and you feel bad and you beat yourself up for it. And then it's that slippery slope every
Yep.
time.
And that kind of plays right into, I wanted to talk about like even just sleep because
Don't
as parents, like
stop.
you
Cheers.
write, cheers.
Sleep, my friends.
If anything that you're going to do with your schedule is make sure that you sleep. So like if you make a list of 30 things to do and you only cross 10 off, then you're sitting there in bed, your anxiety goes through the roof, you're frustrated, it's just like, why couldn't I get all these things done? And you're laying in bed and you've got all these thoughts and it's like, oh my gosh, now I have like 40 things I have to do tomorrow. And it just builds and builds and builds, right? And you get all of these feelings and your heart races and you get hot and you get frustrated, whatever it may be. And it's not serving us in a positive way, right? Our energy becomes negative. When we don't sleep, like our hormones go out of whack. It's just like everything, our immune system, and like we get sick, right? When we're exhausted, we get sick. So really focusing on getting sleep. And I know for myself, like this was a couple of years, it was even before I became a mom. Um, my job alone gave me so much anxiety because I didn't know how to deal with a lot of the things I was dealing with. And I went and got a prescription for sleeping pills. I might have taken one. I don't know if I've even taken any, but I was trying all sorts of supplements like magnesium and calcium and all sorts of, you'd buy something to sleep or you take a neocitrin or melatonin, whatever it is, right? Like I'm throwing lots of things out there. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with taking those things if they're helping you sleep. I was not sleeping with the help of things, without the help of things. Like my mind was like everywhere. I was sick all the time. So really trying to work around, like, don't be so hard on yourselves, especially when you've got little kids running around and you didn't get all the chores done or you've got dirty dishes in the sink and like go to bed and when you wake up in the morning, make yourself a pot of coffee and then do your dishes, right? The
Yeah.
dishes can wait. Those things can wait. There's things that can't wait if your kid's not sleeping, right? Those are things you have to do and that you might not get sleep for, right? But those are not an every night occurrence. Make sure that whether it's doing like I do deep sleep meditation now because it clears my mind. Like when I lay there in bed and I have nothing, I hear nothing. I hear my voice. Like I have like 30 voices coming at me. Like you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You've got this to do. You got this. Like I'm sure so many people can relate to this, right? And when you listen to a guided something in your ears. I don't recommend music because that stimulates you, but there's certain music out there that actually calms the mind down. And I do a guided sleep meditation, and they literally walk you through. You focus on parts of your body, and you don't have to buy this as an app. You don't have to do any of those things, right? Like, I just go on YouTube, and there's like a little swipe underneath the videos where instead of the next video popping up, you can just stop that from happening. And I throw on a guided deep sleep meditation in my ears, and honestly, I don't even make it through the first 15 minutes.
Love it.
Lights out, and I sleep all night. I'm not going to say that this is going to work for everyone, but it's just ideas out there that if you're not sleeping well, you need to get a good sleep and find a way to get a good sleep so that you have more to give, because our energy comes from sleeping. And then the less you sleep, the less you have to give. It's all about what we can do and what we can give to our kids, our family, our spouses, even the people around us every day at our jobs. If we're working jobs and doing all those things, you need to sleep, right? So it's got to come before the errands and the housework and the everything, right? Except for the dependents, like our children, or if there's somebody that's really sick, whatever it is, right? There's certain circumstances. Don't get me wrong, but it's not an everyday thing.
Of course.
And I think sleep is one of the most important things.
For
So
all
get
kinds
yourself
of
some sleep.
reasons.
Yes, get yourself
Cheers,
some sleep.
cheers to sleep, my friend.
One glass of wine might help.
Oh, we
I
forget
don't
that.
recommend that for sleep aids.
Another thing that I wanted to touch on is the comparison. Stop
Mm,
comparing. Stop comparing yourself to people.
yes.
Just because Susie's mom has her kid in like 17 different out of school activities doesn't mean that you have to. I feel
Yes.
like we all kind of, I don't know about you guys, but I live in a small town, and a lot of times that's what it feels like, is that people are always kind of, somebody sets the norm and then everybody feels like they need to live up to that. And that works for some families, that's awesome, but for a lot of families it doesn't. And
Mm-hmm.
that's okay too. So
Yes.
if you guys just want to, I have a girlfriend who actually she decided this year to not put her kids in absolutely anything. And her kids don't mind at all, because they live on an acreage and they have a lot of things to do at home anyways. And it was the like last year it was running them ragged. The kids were coming home and they were just, they didn't, it's not even necessarily that they wanted to be in all the things that they were in, but because everybody else is doing it, you kind of fall into that whole thing, right?
Absolutely.
So yes, I'm a big advocate for people doing what is right for your family. If you want, if your
Yes.
kids really want to participate and you're able to do it, awesome. Power to you. That's
Yeah.
perfect. If it works for your family, great. But if it doesn't, give yourself a break.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. What
Mm-hmm.
matters is your kids' happiness and your happiness. And yeah.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
You know, that kind of plays into like, stop caring what other people think,
Yeah.
right? Because
Oh
if you are confident in the way that your children are turning out, in the way that you're feeling about yourself, and if you feel happy inside, I'm not really sure what else matters.
yeah.
If you got happy kids, like, it's exhausting and it is such a waste of time to constantly use your energy to worry what other people are thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's just it holds you back, and like potentially it's going to hold you back and your family back from going and doing something that maybe you guys would all have an absolute blast doing and love doing,
Yeah.
instead of going to the soccer game or going to some other activity that you put your kids in because you felt like you had to,
Yeah.
right? Like, maybe there's something else you can do that's going to be educational that your kids are going to learn from, or they just get to hang out with mom and dad,
Yeah.
right? Or just mom, or just dad, or whatever it is. But don't compare, and stop thinking what other people are going to think of you. If you feel it's right for you and your family, like, go for it.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm going to have to pour another glass soon.
Cheers to that, my friend.
Can you tell, Paulette and I love this topic this time? We were both very excited to talk about these things because we've both done like so much work on ourselves in this last year, where these are all struggles that we have both had. Like, my son's not in school yet, but all of the school activities are like, not school activities, but activities for little kids are starting up again, right? And it can be like, I remember last year, so take me back a whole year, I had like massive social anxiety. I couldn't even leave my house. I'd be in tears. I didn't want to even tell anybody that I was feeling like that. And I'd even talk with my husband and he'd be like, just take him. Like, it's right around the corner. Just go. And I could not get myself out of the house. And now I realize it's because I wasn't giving myself any self-love. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't doing all of these things that need to be done. And now I recognize and I'm happy with who I am inside. And so being able, like, I'm excited to do those things, but I'm not going to exhaust myself by going to a kids thing every single day just to say that I'm that super mom taking my kid to everything.
Yeah.
Do you know,
Totally.
right? Like, and hey, if you're super mom, like, kudos to you. If you are 100% gung ho getting everything done, like, wow, love ya.
There are some out there.
Because you are a rare breed, and I want to know your tricks.
I am not one of those people.
Me neither. I'm a homebody, and I love those things, and I love getting my son out to play and do all those sorts of fun things too. But you just have to prioritize, and again, focus on yourself and what you can do and what really matters in that situation.
Yeah.
Totally.
I just want to take a minute here and give a shout out to some of our viewers that are on with us right now. I see my boy Lou is on. Hey,
What?
love you, buddy. Shannon is on as well. Carrie. Who else do we have here? Shannon wrote us a comment here. She said, it's really hard to give myself permission to do for me before I do for my family. Yes.
That is a big struggle. And like Paulette and I have talked about this, and I know in a lot of things that I've gone through in the last year is like, I just constantly would always think about somebody else. And I went to a course and I was asked, what do I want? I didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
It's about like, yeah, you're focused. I could tell you what everyone else wanted, loved to do, everything. But when someone would ask me, like, what's your favorite meal? Where do you want to go to eat? What do you want to do? Well, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to do, right? Like it was always, so really sit down and just sit there and be like, whoa, when's the last time I really thought about myself? And it's okay. It's not selfish.
No.
It's not a selfish thing to think about doing something for yourself. Like, after this course, Paulette and I are actually at this course together. It's called Awaken. And totally woke us up. Tell you that right now. And on the drive home, I actually went and I was sitting in the car with a couple of other friends. We carpooled. And I went and I messaged a guy the day before our softball league was supposed to start. And I said, I want in. I hadn't played softball in like 10 years. I've been playing slow pitch. And I was like, this is something I want to do, something I love. And I felt so guilty. I felt so guilty and so excited. I felt guilty for feeling excited. I felt guilty that I was going to take a night out of the week to go and do something for myself. But now it fills my cup. I go once a week. I'm playing slow pitch, but it fills my cup. I get around some good friends, have some fun, and it's an hour and a half. You do something once a week for yourself.
Yeah, but it makes such a big difference, right? You come
Huge.
home. It's like you went out for your girlfriends for a night.
Totally.
Like that rejuvenation of like, oh yeah, that's who I am. Because I find like as moms, we forget.
Absolutely.
Right? As soon as kids come into the picture for parents out there, you put on the mom hat and it rarely comes off. So when you're able to do something for you, it's huge. But yes, it's always attached with guilt, which is like fluff the guilt. I'm trying to keep you tonight, guys. You know what? Fuck the guilt.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Because you know what? We need to know, guys and girls, this is something that I know a lot of guys speak about, and we never speak to the men about it because we always think guys are rough and tough and they've got it all together, right? But guys need to know that they're enough too. We're saying all of this for the women, right? Like if you're a stay-at-home mom, if you go to work every day too, and so does your husband, and you come home and you got to learn to delegate the tasks of what needs to be done, because women often take on 90% of everything at home, right? And that's not to say good, bad, right, or wrong, right? It's just that maybe there's a space to learn to delegate and increase that communication together so that there's a little bit of weight off of your shoulders.
Yeah.
And then when you come home, each of you can focus like, hey, you're going to get Tuesday nights totally off when you get home from work. I got this. You're going to get Thursday nights off from after work. I got this.
Yep.
Right? And give each other the equals, right? And then when it becomes a conversation of like, hey, my buddies asked me if I can go do this with them, or hey, my girlfriends want me to go out for a girls' night. It's no big deal because I had mine a couple of days ago. I'm rejuvenated. And then it's okay when each person wants maybe an extra little bit because everything is shared. It's talked about, it's shared, it's equal, and then weights off the shoulders.
Yeah. My husband and I have that deal as well. And he, every Wednesday night, has boys' night at our house. And a bunch of his dudes come over and they do their thing. But then if there's another day of the week that I want to go do my thing, then it's not a big deal, right? Because I'm a huge advocate for people who, like, I believe that men and women both need their own stuff.
Yeah.
So
away from each other.
Yeah, we love to do stuff as a couple and be together. Like, that's fun. But we also really enjoy and need that me time.
Yeah.
Whether it's just by yourself or if it's, just with your own people. Yeah,
100%.
that's also a cup filler.
Cup filler.
And listen, we're all about filling buckets.
Yes.
So, cheers.
Cheers. My bucket's almost empty. Just kidding.
There's more where that came from.
My bucket's not empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, did you guys get some value out of that? I feel like we just kind of wanted to touch on getting back into.
I think we covered a lot of things in a very short period of time. Does anybody, we've got quite a few viewers on right now. Do any of you guys have any questions? Let us know what you do for you time. If you find that it's a struggle, like, is this a struggle? Like, this has just been in the last year, and you know what? It's still a struggle. These things still pop up into our heads, and it's just like, am I going to feel like that? Your heart starts to race, and you got to talk yourself out of these things. Like, we have all these voices in our head, and all these voices are just ourselves talking to ourselves. And it's just about whether we let them beat us down or we let them flourish us. Yeah. And it's not an easy task to reroute that. It's not easy.
Right.
We work on it every day. We talk about it every day. Like, I've called Paulette and been like, why do I feel like this? And we talk each other through things, right? Like, you gotta get yourself a little buddy. And
that's another really big thing, is to have a support system of somebody who you can really vent to and just talk shit out with.
Yeah.
I feel super blessed. I have a lot of people in my life. But I am just, you need that. Everybody needs, I feel like.
But when you find someone that you want to talk shit out with, you don't want to find someone that is going to play into your shit and tell you what you want to hear. Right?
I have a good story about this. And Bex has actually, you have a really good story about this.
Tisha, I don't know what she's talking about.
When we, like Bex was saying, we went to this self-development conference called Awaken, and in one of the things they taught us about feedback and what feedback really means. And because a lot of times if you ask someone their opinion, or if somebody who loves you sometimes will tell you something that they're telling you out of love, and they want to maybe help you, call you on your bullshit, honestly, sometimes. A lot of times we tend to take that really, really, really personally. What we learned at this conference is how to take feedback. And feedback is really, it's not positive and it's not negative. It's just information.
It is only feedback.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that since I've kind of adopted that into my brain, I get a lot less offended when somebody gives me like some constructive criticism. Or if I ask for, because this is another thing, is that a lot of times you will ask for constructive criticism, but the minute somebody like old me, I ask them to be like, yeah, just tell me what you think. Honestly, I really want to know what you think. And then they tell you they think, and then you're like, oh, oh my god,
Like,
I
what a
can't believe you
bitch.
said that. What a bitch. I know, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, thanks. No, I totally appreciate that. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
never thought of it like that. So
And
it's
two, the thing
really
is
cool
like
perspective.
you take that feedback, and if it ticks you off, you usually know that it's right. There's
Yeah,
no right or wrong, but you usually know that you were thinking that exact same thing.
yeah,
Or you're like, well, I'm not sure I agree with that feedback. That's okay too, because feedback is neither right or wrong, good or bad. It's just feedback. It is totally neutral. You can take it, you can leave it, up to you. And it's just someone's giving you sort of what they're seeing.
that one takes work.
Oh,
But when you turn the switch, it's like,
mm-hmm,
oh,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
You get all like hot inside, and I get like sweaty, and I'm like, I can't believe you said
And then,
that. And then it's just like, okay, but it's right, or it's I agree, like however you want to say it.
yeah, didn't you say that when you were younger, you used to be like that and you gave people feedback, but everybody called you a bitch for it, right?
I also did not have a good delivery. Let's just
Okay.
be, we're gonna have a very honest conversation here. So yes, I would often say things that may, so it was often in sports, and it wasn't necessarily a feedback thing. I could have used some feedback. I could have known if I had known how to take feedback back then, I would be in a very different place than I am today. But I've done a lot of work on myself in the last year to be okay with how I was as a kid,
Yeah.
because
Like,
I learned like so many things that you take when you're a kid, you learn, and you sometimes don't know how to deliver your emotions. You don't know how to deliver what you're going to say.
yeah.
And that's okay too. But I was often like the kid with the bad attitude, wipe that look off your face. Like, sorry, it's my face. Often I would be told, like, you look like you're so mad right now. And it was like, wow, I feel actually so good inside. And then it was like, what is wrong with me? I would get
Uh,
all of these comments all the time. Like, I'm okay with my face now. Like,
I, I don't feel like you have a resting bitch face.
and I think it's because I'm a lot more happy inside. I do. Just you wait.
Yeah.
You'll see it one
Cheers,
day.
cheers,
Um,
cheers to being happy.
cheers to being happy, right? And it's just, I used to get it a lot, but like when someone would ask me their opinion, I would very bluntly say what I thought
Yeah.
and never had the right delivery. I know this now. I recognize this now because I deliver things in a very different way and I speak in a very different way. And it's something I struggle with. Actually, a friend of ours is doing 30 days of, what's Miss Jackie doing? I can't remember what it's
Oh,
called.
30 days of self-love.
30 days of self-love, and one of them was the feed, like what do people often say to you that you have a hard time believing? And one was that I am very great at providing feedback, and I kind of laugh now at that statement because I was always the bitch, and I was always the one that was rude and mean about how I said things, and people never liked what I said. But when I look back now, it's like, yes, I was providing honest feedback. I was not giving it in an appropriate way, but people also were not aware of how to receive what feedback is. Because
Right.
regardless of how it's delivered, it's still feedback.
Yeah.
But when you're kids, it's crazy. Kids are mean, kids are evil and crazy and gossipy, and not all, but generic, clump them into a group. These days, things are not as nice as they used to be.
Yeah. I agree.
So yeah,
Uh,
that's my little rant on feedback.
I feel like we went off there.
We went way off. I'm
Cheers.
sorry, guys. Cheers.
We're
Mm-hmm.
just trying to share the love.
I'm out of love. Just kidding.
Okay, well,
So go ahead.
oh, no, no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say
Wrap it up,
what I
sister.
wanted to end on was Paulette and I have this incredible book that my husband actually ordered it, and I have been reading it to my son almost every single night. And it's one of the books that he doesn't say, no, mommy, put it away. I don't like it. He doesn't say that about this one. He says it about a lot of books. And I think it's so important that when we're teaching our kids to fill their buckets and to feel happy and do things that make you happy and go after your dreams and do all these things, we can't be hypocrites about it and not follow what we say, right? We can't say do all of these things and then boom, you're 18 and you have to go to school and do exactly what mom and dad are doing. Like it's not how life is, because that becomes a hypocrite, and then we change our thinking and we're like, what the heck, right? So we actually have this guide to daily happiness for kids. So have you filled your bucket today? Right?
I
This
got
is,
my I got my beautiful copy from
my gosh.
my girlfriend Mickey. She's her little guy sent it to my Grayson.
Oh,
You
gosh,
know,
Kate, her boys have been reading this book and they gave my little guy an electric quad the other day. He is just like going wild over it. And it was all about her son filling someone else's bucket and filling his own. And it was a struggle. But teaching kids these things, like she's doing an incredible job with her boys. Like
yes,
teaching these kids these things is so amazing, because he left and he wasn't crying and he was happy and they all had fun teaching my little guy how to ride it. And it was just so wonderful, right?
yeah,
But I think it's so important that this book talks about everyone having an invisible bucket. And that's our bucket of like emotions and how we're feeling and are we happy, and talks about if you're mean to someone, you're dipping into your own bucket too. You take from theirs, you take from your own. And then you'll have an empty bucket and you'll be sad and miserable and whatever, right? So
but
I think it's so important that when you give to others, you give to yourself. When you give to yourself, you're able to give to others. You can only give from a full bucket. So you need to do the
amen.
self-love.
Cheers to that.
Yeah,
Cheers.
hold on. Here,
hold
this
that
is what it is.
hold that thought, guys. Love it. Love it. Yes, I would like to say a big cheers to full buckets. And as parents,
Fill
taking
your
our
bucket.
yes, take your own advice, fill your
Mm-hmm.
own buckets so that you can fill everyone else's buckets.
Yes. Give yourself the love. Know that you are worth it. You are enough. And don't compare yourself to the super moms out there or the
Yes.
super dads, because you are a super mom for getting through every single day, surviving, and give yourself a little love, and things will be so much easier.
You are enough.
That's the biggest thing. Tell yourself every day, I am
Boom.
enough.
Boom.
I think we should end it there with a cheers.
I feel like we should end it there with the
And a
cheers.
little love. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Let us know if you got some value out of that, or if any of these tips you think are going to help you, or if it just kind of resonated.
Yeah.
Let us know. We love the interaction. We'll get back to you on the comments, and yeah,
Thanks for
I think we're back next week.
We are back next week. We're
We
working on
are in. Go for it. You tell about it.
we're working on something, guys. We're actually going to start our own page for Paulette and Becs Wine Lives,
Yeah.
and so it's going to be just for Wine Lives and some other cool
Um,
stuff.
yeah, amazing content and some great little tips, tricks, articles. We'll post some fun stuff, things that we're doing, some good wines. Should be
Patrick,
fun. Anyways, we're back next week on the 11th at 8 p.m. East. No, what are we? Mountain Standard Time.
yes, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time next Tuesday. We will see you then, my friends.
Love to you all. You're
Okay,
enough.
take care, guys. We need our background music.